And we are up on YouTube right now.
Okay.
Good, I wore the right color, pink and purple.
Yes.
Matches my flag a little bit.
Yes. She's blending into the screen.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
It's a good color. I like colors like that.
I do too.
Yeah, I like bright colors.
You know, when you're old, you can wear purple, Vanessa. That's the rule.
Well, I'm old.
No, no, no.
Ah, no, you're not.
Only me, only me.
And purple is a royal color.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, you know, Carol, we're the same age, so we both are old, right?
Yes, yes, council member. I wanted to say that to you the other night. I think you're much older than me, but it doesn't count for much.
And I remember growing old is a blessing.
I think so.
It is.
I agree.
It's
I
biblical.
agree.
Yeah.
Preach it, sister.
All right.
This has really become a full-time job, guys.
No
Yes,
kidding.
it has, by the way.
Yes, it has.
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
Whoa, who said that?
Amy, the woman of the hour.
She doesn't know we're going to ask her for a raise at the end of this.
We're leading up to it, right?
I have tried not to harass Amy because I know she's busy and I know the money is tight.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't asked for any new things or freebies, although it would be great if we could get some.
True.
Patient. This too shall pass.
Yeah,
That's what I keep saying. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
right. So Councilmember Appel must have been in court today.
No, he didn't
No,
have on
I
a
just,
clean shirt. She had to just put a coat over it to make it look good.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
right. That's right.
That was a good one. He didn't have a
Sorry,
comeback
Rob.
ready.
Yeah.
Councilman Appel, you see, they made you a commissioner in the Post and Courier yesterday.
And I told him that.
Oh,
he's
what do
a
you mean?
commissioner?
They
Yeah, the Equities Commission, you're now a member.
Oh, okay.
according to the Post and Courier.
Man, I mean, they say the media is powerful. I mean, dude, I don't know. But I was just tuning in to watch just like everybody else. I thought it was
I
awesome
know,
what y'all were doing.
It was awesome.
Hey, Ross, be prepared for a call from Darren Lee
Okay.
on the zoning portion.
Ah,
Okay.
absolutely.
He's gonna
That's
Wonderful young man. Wonderful young man.
he's gonna
I mean-
reach out to you.
Wonderful. You say zoning, you got my attention.
Yeah, you need an escort on that one, council member.
And it
You're
might be-
dangerous alone.
and I-
And just so everyone knows, Councilmember Waring is joining now. So we do have everyone on the committee on the call.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mayor,
so
how are
Mayor.
you?
I'm doing great. Doing terrific. Hope everyone is. So thanks for taking time to join us. Let me turn off my phone. Sorry about that. And the agenda calls for a moment of silence. We'll start, call the meeting to order and ask you to join me in a moment of silence, but please keep in mind the families and the lives that continue to be affected by the coronavirus. Amen. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move right along and talk about our 2020 budget. I think y'all saw that Amy had sent out the charts on and figures for the monthly reports through June, and she'll give an update on that and then talk about our financial position as we stand right now. Amy?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I had sent the monthly reports out to you all last night. I was just going to briefly go over them. Revenues for July. As you can see, we're still well under our budgeted, our target numbers for revenues in the general fund, except for property taxes and business licenses, which we seem to be doing okay in, obviously, so far. And then for enterprise funds, we're obviously well under budget for all of those as well. Continue to be under budget, under target. Expenditures, you know, we haven't done the amendment yet to show where we cut the $7 million from everyone's budgets, but we'll do that probably in October. So then these charts will change a little bit, but we're still under at this point. And then stormwater is doing well. No concerns. We're tracking over budget for revenues and under for expenditures, which some of that is probably, we haven't done some things that we have planned to do yet. So I wouldn't expect that much of this to continue to track that much under budget in the next few months. So update on our revenue loss projections. I just did a very quick slide on this just because we've talked about this so often. I know you all know about it, just to kind of show you that we're still tracking on our projections of revenue losses. Our hospitality did better than we thought it would, but still obviously way under where we should be. So right now we're at about 32 million. That's not including everything in the general fund, though. Those are just the ones that I've been highlighting every month that we've talked about this. Any questions on that?
So Amy, on the general fund, you put not inclusive.
So it doesn't include the franchise fees that were well under budget. It's just those key areas that we were tracking in the general fund. Recreation was one of them. The police fines, those 5 or 6 that we had been talking about.
Right.
But it doesn't include franchise and other things that have been under budget as well.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
So our 2021 budget is really where we wanted to focus today. We have some proposed municipal golf course fees that we wanted to talk with all of you about that we'll later take to the Golf Course Commission. And then we have our healthcare budget that went to the HR committee a few weeks ago, and then just our working plan for the rest of the 21 budget. So the golf course fees, what we're proposing, my office, mayor's office, and the golf course manager and Lori Yarborough had worked on this together. Because of the new course, it's going to cost about $200,000 more in operations. We'll need additional staff, agricultural supplies, and additional equipment to maintain the golf course. So the rate increases will help with that, but it will also be more reflective of this new course as well and what we should be charging to play at the course. It's across the board rate increases, with the biggest increases to non-resident rates. And I'm going to let Marshall Orman talk about this. He's also on the line. He's the one that worked on this the most and can explain it the best. So Marshall, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, Marshall.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so I was just going to kind of breeze through pretty quickly. One thing, we're following the same structure here as we've had in the past as far as city residents, Tri-County residents, and then non-resident being anyone outside of Charleston, Berkeley, or Dorchester. And I think another thing to point out that's important is we're still, we're not going to be increasing junior fees. One of our big goals is to hit juniors, all different demographics, really. All of our programs will remain consistent with where they are now. And so what we're doing is kind of tiering it to where we're catering rates to be as close as possible to where we were with city residents. If you look with city senior weekday residents, only a $3 increase. Same thing with city residents, seniors 62 and older right now. And then on weekends, just Saturday and Sunday, as opposed to Friday through Sunday, we're doing $25. So moving down to the Tri-County area, a little more increase than we had hoped, but we really wanted to make sure we keep the city residents consistent with where they were. $20 green fee to play golf in Charleston is pretty unheard of, obviously, most anywhere really. But 25, 30, and 35, same sort of tier there. And then obviously with the non-residents, we're hiking it up a good bit more. Same pitch we've had in place for a couple years now, so nothing's really changed. And looking at $60 green fees for non-residents and $50 for seniors, and really that's on a percentage discount basis is why that changes from city to non-resident for the seniors. We did keep the non-resident, it's $60 weekday and weekend, kind of just figured what does a tourist care if it's a weekday or weekend, so it's one flat rate there instead of going up another $5 or $10 on the weekend. Any questions there?
So Marshall, do you distinguish when you have those fees on the bottom for junior, twilight, outing, tournaments and all, is there a city versus non-resident?
We don't do that for our programs either. We have for all of our leagues, we do different leagues for elementary, middle, and high school that we host out here. Everything's consistent. All of our classes are consistent. All our tournaments are consistent for everyone. So we just distinguish on a day-to-day rate basis, and that's it.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Marshall, thank you. And a couple of questions, and I'm a golf hacker, so and I can't wait for this course to reopen. I'm so excited about it. Couple of questions, sort of observations. These rates are still very reasonable. I mean, I think these are very generous rates, and I'm not advocating that we jack them to the point that the public is not able to enjoy this. But how does this compare with other municipal golf courses up in North Charleston and Westbrook and those areas? What is sort of the breakdown, do you know, of those other public courses? What are we going to follow along with this?
Well, you know, I've looked at those are the two obvious municipal courses, Crowfield being one of the more comparable municipal courses to us, and that it's city owned and operated. And Crowfield, I think their base rate, their peak rate is $52 to ride on a weekend in the morning. So that's kind of what you base everything off of, and then tier down from there. And I think Westcott is 61 ballpark. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Exact.
Councilmember Shade, we actually have a slide coming up comparing, our rates to other golf courses. There's a couple of slides back that will show that as well.
All right. And the other question I have is, Amy, does this rate include? Well, never mind. I see it. I got it.
With the golf cart.
Yeah, I see it. I didn't see that. I just totally missed that.
Do look at that on the right there.
There it is. Right there.
That's ultimately what we compare to other courses with. The majority of courses post just a rate with the golf cart included. We have a good portion of our customers walk, which we encourage. I'll show you in the next slide here. But in comparison, the carts with the cart is really what you're working off of with other courses.
Right.
So just keep that in mind when we get to that slide that Amy was just talking about. When you look down here real quick at the bottom, user fees, that is what we charge annual pass holders. Again, keep that in mind for the next slide, but we're going to look at doing away with that, and you'll see why in a second here. Juniors are showing a little increase. One thing I want to note on juniors is we are exploring options that it's going to stay at $10, and you know, there's not a junior rate out there that's enormous, but There's not many that there for $10 either, but we are trying to look at ways for Friends of the Muni to help subsidize a program and probably alongside First Tee even to offer free golf, potentially for all juniors. So that's something we've been in discussion with. We haven't had any official discussion, but it's a great concept, and I think it's something we could pull off potentially. And so that's the direction we're going to try to go there. And then this Twilight deal down here is just when we let play come out late afternoons, we get, actually that's like 15% of our play. It's a lot of play at a discounted rate, but it's something where we can allow, given our location, allowing the influx of residents that live around here to come out after school or after work. And we get a lot of traffic for that and our driving range in the afternoon.
All right.
The reason the tournaments, put outing in tournaments together, outings are more like your fundraiser type of events where we charge a little bit more like in the $40 to $45 range for golf and carts. The tournaments, we factor in our city tournaments where and those are ones over weekend spans where we don't see as much revenue from, but it's a great way to get the public out here playing golf. So that's why it's kind of hovering down there at a $15 range.
Marshall, let me interrupt you 1 second. Councilmember Jackson, did you have a question?
I do feel like this is very reasonable. My husband's group is like Councilmember Shade. Nobody can wait to get on, and the course as it's come together, everyone's been holding their breath that it's going to be a lot more expensive. So I think the majority of people who play this course regularly are going to be very happy that we're keeping everything reasonable, especially for the city residents. So I just wanted to ask, and maybe it's of Ms. Wharton. So of the increases that total to almost $1 million, does that get us to the achievement of covering the $200,000 operating and a little bit of rainy day net, or how does that factor to what we need to make?
I'll let Marshall answer that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're overall, and I've looked at this in depth with Laurie, Matt, and Stephanie, who I think are all on the line too. But we showing just over 2.6 million in revenue. We focus on the admissions. Obviously, that's what people ask. First question people ask. That's what our biggest portion of our revenue is. And I do want to point out one thing. If you look at the bottom here, the quantity of sales for 2021 that we're projecting 49,000 rounds. We did right around 57,000 rounds in 2019. So we're trying to present a pretty conservative number here. And I say that 2018, which is also a normal year as far as no construction on the course or clubhouse or anything, we were right around 50,000 rounds. We had a couple of record, I think that was the year we had the snow in January and a record rain in December, so on and so forth. So we're strictly relying on day-to-day traffic, and so the weather becomes our big best friend and worst enemy. So we're, I think that 49,000 is a safe number, but it is important to see we're not trying to throw out an absorbent number there just to get to the bottom line. So showing just over 2.6 total in revenues. All of the quantities, same thing. The breakdown of resident versus non-resident is fairly consistent with what we've seen. We are expecting a little more non-resident traffic, which I think is safe. And same thing in the Tri-County area. We've actually shown a little bit less rounds of city residents than we are showing with the Tri-County non-resident, and we anticipate down the road that same trend may increase for non-residents especially.
Thanks for spending the time on that.
What was it, 2.6 for total revenue? And I think our expenses that we have set up now, which I don't think is finalized, but we're right around 2.4. So showing a $200,000 profit at the end of the year.
All right. Councilmember Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious about what percent of the rounds are non-resident?
Right now, it's probably, I think it's 6-7% were non-resident. That's fluctuated, a percent or two over the years, and it's not an enormous number. the percent of revenue per round is a little more than that, and obviously we'll see that increase. I think we'll see non-resident play increase too, but we're definitely see the dollars per round from non-residents go up with the higher green fee.
And let me ask something. Does it make, I don't play golf. I talk a good game.
Never too late.
No. But if a person like me wanted to go out and buy a gift certificate for, I don't know, 4 rounds of golf, could you do that?
Of course. We do it. When we sell gift cards, we'll do them at a dollar amount. So we just kind of advise you on what you're trying to get, and you can use it for anything here.
I'm just wondering if it makes sense to, I don't know how we market that or make that known. Because if people did that, it would, in effect, give us money up front.
Right. Yeah, we get a lot around the holidays. I think it's pretty standard practice at courses, so we don't do a ton of marketing for it, but it's certainly
the reason I'm saying with this new and improved course, I mean, I cut through there on my way to Johns Island, on my way to Seabrook, and I'm telling you, it certainly is going to look to be a lot more challenging. I see a lot of water out there, which means hackers like Peter's going to be putting a lot of balls in the water.
Amen. Amen.
Boost our sales.
The
marketing.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
the marketing options. I'm sorry?
No, I was just thinking with the opening, with the unveiling of the new and improved course, it may be an opportunity to get some gift card sales or gift round sales or however y'all term it.
Yeah.
You know, we should budget for a deep sea diver to collect all those golf balls that Peter's going to hit in there.
We've got a crew that comes and dives. They hadn't been out in a few years. They used to come and dive and then used to sell them back to us. As much sense as that makes. And we turn around and sell them. So that's out there too.
All right. What else?
Moving on to the annual passes here. When you look at the yearly cost, it's a little confusing just because we're going to try to do it a little differently in regards to the user fee. So we currently charge a $3 user fee when our pass holders play. Right now they can, you're looking at the annual price is $450, $600, $650, $800. That's basically we just do an equation based on amount of rounds. We were trying to do a break even at about 50 rounds a year, which is once a week. And so if you played more than that, we had options in place to discount the golf for you. So the important part here is this is not a membership. This is essentially a bulk rate discount. So we don't, and if you, in comparison to other courses, if you're used to playing or if you're a member somewhere else, that comes along with sometimes a full membership or range balls that are included or tournaments that you have special access to, so on and so forth. So this is more or less, if you play X amount of rounds, it's worth it for you. That's how we sell it. It's a way to get to lower the price for your seniors that are out here on 2-3 day a week basis. And we get right now we have a little over 200. We had a little over 200 participants annually. And if you look here, we're showing a little bit less people doing this program. Honestly, I don't know that I have any idea what will turn of it. I will say we've had a lot of new requests from people I'm not familiar with, which is exciting, but too much of this play has been a concern in years past, just with lowering it effectively lowers your green fee to where you end up having the bulk of your prime play, your 8 o'clock a.m. to 10 a.m. in these sections here. So we don't want it to affect the bottom line too much. We also don't want to have to cut it off at a certain quantity either. So this is an estimate. You're going from $450 a year to $1,000 a year. That may affect some of it right there. What we've also done is based it off of a 60 round a year basis compared to our normal rates, and that's kind of the break-even point. And but you want, overall from our end, you want these people there. These are kind of your bread and butter. These are your people that are there regularly, that are building up your golf course, that enjoy being out there. I just think there's a fine line and too much, and that comes from too discounted too. So that's kind of the presentation and my worries in a nutshell. I don't know if y'all just briefly have much to say on that, but that same structure, eliminating the user fee, which ups the upfront cost, and the projected total income there, with that said, is just based on 135 of these participants at those dollar amounts.
And did you have a slide, Marshall, with the comparison to the other golf courses?
I have a spreadsheet with the other golf courses.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Mayor, that's coming up
Yeah.
after this slide. If you want to
Yeah.
talk about the range,
Okay.
just all the fees right
Range
now.
prices, we're looking at a little better experience on the range. We've got a new strip. We've got a lot bigger range tee that's been leveled, better grass, better conditions all the way across the board. Same thing with the putting green. We also have a 3-hole short game area that will not be of any charge to people. And all in all, we're looking at, I think I've shown a little bit of a increase in quantity of sales. I think that would be just because of the bigger range tee, a little more interest in the facility, and also drier conditions. So better drainage out there, just getting more traffic on the range. So nominal increase here, but that's what we are working with. On the golf carts, biggest jump on the golf carts is the 18-hole cart. That's important because that's our second highest revenue line. I think we're well within what any golf course does around here, most $20 to $28 probably for the cart itself. Obviously, we have a lot of walkers still, 40% of our play walkers, whereas actually Crowfield's manager told me recently they have over 90% of their rounds are riding rounds. So that's the difference. It's a hidden revenue, but it's great for the public that comes out and plays. Here's your comparison of other courses. Basically, just put these in order of proximity from our golf course. Again, it's hard to compare what we offer to others when you factor in location, what it is, the membership options, and kind of the overall target for what the facility is in the private sector that's profitable, or a member equity golf course, or a municipal course just trying to survive. We are obviously well below rate-wise where we stand now with anyone. With our increase, it puts our non-residents, up to these couple of courses up in Mount Pleasant, Stone Oak Ferry, and then our residents, of course, will still be the most affordable rate in town. And these are our weekend peak, very max rates, including golf carts.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if you go back to the previous slide, are we giving up rounds by allowing such a high percentage of walkers?
We give up revenue. We certainly can give up revenue from that standpoint, but I think that fits the mold for what we are. It's a municipal facility. It's easy to walk. It's a good way to promote it, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of courses, Shadow Moss being one, that factors the cart fee into the green fee, and you play it whether you walk or ride unless you're a member.
Okay.
Marshall, go back to the screen where you had the residents, the tri-county residents, and the non-residents. And does anybody else differentiate the city from the tri-county area to the non-residents?
I don't think so. Anyone else, like locally, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it would seem to me you're either in the city or you're not.
Yeah.
To get a differential, and if you're going to have a three-way tier, I would question whether you add a little more fee to those other Tri-County citizens who do not live in the city. I mean, all of our taxpayers are helping to pay for this, and it's not really a big profitable operation. I mean, it's a great facility experience and all like that. And I think our citizens ought to get the primary benefit. So that's the only question I have. Before you had a $5 differential between somebody that lived in the city and somebody who's from Somerville, say, not picking on them, but anywhere else in the Tri-County region. And then you go up a whole nother $25 to $30 to get somebody from Columbia. So, or somebody from out of state. I just question whether we ought to have a little more bump on the other non-city residents.
Right. We did, we backtracked and increased it a little more than we originally had it. And it's, that pitch makes perfect sense. You're in the city or you're not, with the exception of several homeowners that live on this golf course that are not in the city. And it becomes the day-to-day operationally, the difficult part is controlling who's who, in the sense that you have a lot of renters, you have a lot of people moving, you have a lot of people that are new to the area that have no idea what the difference is.
Right.
And it's the Tri-County area in itself seems like quite a stretch for what we're offering. If we were to do any break for those, I think it's come up where we could maybe reach out to the county and town of James Island, St. Andrews Public Service District, and any kind of tier there to see if they'd want to subsidize it for their residents and charge a higher premium. I have looked at the numbers and combining them, and I don't know that I want to quote an exact rate, but I want to say it was going to work out to be like 40, 45, 50 if we were to combine the Tri-County and non-resident to get to the same total number.
Right.
So it wouldn't be astronomical if we were to combine the Tri-County and non-resident. It would just be a much bigger leap, obviously, for Tri-County based on our previous numbers.
I understand. So I'm just curious, we have a lot of donut holes, and you might live West Ashley and it says Charleston on your driver's license, but you live in the county. How far down do y'all inquire or go to determine whether somebody lives in the city or not?
Well, we've relied exclusively on the GIS, where our staff have to look into the GIS, and the difficulty is our staff seems to have a lot of fat fingers that hit too many numbers, and letters when they're typing the addresses in becomes hard to find. But we've been working on programs to have the customer, if they want to get the city resident rate, to be equipped with that information before they arrive, whether they go through RegTrack online or another feature that would have to become available later. But we do have, so far, we've gotten the GIS to load all city residents into RegTrack. So when they go online to sign up, or when our staff fills them out, it auto-populates with the information, and that's how we confirm residency. And we have a database of all of them in there. The county's a little easier. I think we could safely go by zip codes if we needed to by county. There might be one or two that are a little wonky, but that would be easier. And then otherwise, the driver's license says it on there. So,
right.
But yeah, it's
Mayor,
a lot more
the accurate separator is what color is your trash can? So that's what I've heard Marshall's staff ask over and over again. It's very accurate. People know the color of their trash can. If they don't live in the city. So.
Well, everyone's trash can becomes green after their first visit here. So that's.
Well, then they're not honorable golfers, and you want to fine them for that.
So you're showing expected sales in 2021 of Tri-County total about 6,500, close to it. So if you were $10 higher on that mid-section, which would still be a very good discount compared to the real outside non-residents, that'd be another $65,000 of income for you.
Yeah, it just depends if those customers turn out. I mean, I could look farther into where the bulk of those come from if it's James Island residents, if it's people traveling from wherever. But there's other options, outside of the city and outside of James Island, Johns Island, and West Ashley, to where they can get themselves discounts through, whether it's through membership or other programs at the courses, to where they may frequent this. But all in all, you lose a little and you have increased rates, you're still making out in the good. So it's certainly an option.
All right, just thought I'd raise that point. All right, any other questions or discussion or ideas on this proposal, y'all?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Marshall, would you mind going back to the past chart you had up there?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, the annual fees. So that's a huge increase from 450 to 500 to $1,000 on this. And so what would be the
Right.
incentive if you're doing this? I mean, you talk about, this makes sense if you go play around 60 rounds of golf a year.
Sure.
That's your break even.
The adage with memberships, like they say with real estate, 10% of your players, 10% of your salespeople sell 90% of homes, play 90% of the rounds. The difference here is that it's people join those memberships to be a member, to have a place to go that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. Whereas here, it's really just a chance to offer a discount to those who play a large amount of golf. So a lot more people play more rounds of golf. Actually, as an example, for city senior residents, we have more pass holder rounds than we do people playing at the standard rate. That makes sense? So we have more people playing golf at probably a 50-some-odd% discount than we do paying the normal rate, because that fee is so low and they play so much. So it really is just, and that's why we put a lower total there. All right, whereas now we have 225 pass holders, and we've got it much lower because that an upfront fee is higher. But the money's good to have there, whether they play or not. You're still not going to have everybody reach that 60 round mark. And if they don't, so be it. They don't do it next year. But it's very affordable if you play 100 rounds a year, if you play 70 rounds a year, if you play 150 times a year. So that's the incentive. If they're here 2-3 days a week, your senior residents that live around here, we've got a couple of groups that play 3 days a week. Especially if you play weekends when we don't offer senior discounts, it's a much better deal. And we kind of pitch it like that. We don't really sell this program. It's more, hey, this is what's offered. If you, this is where your break even is. If you're not going to play that much golf, don't do it.
And I guess that's sort of the question, is what you're trying to accomplish here with that. And to me, it just seems that's a huge jump from 450 to 550 or 600 to 1200. And I'm wondering whether or not you should phase this in over a couple of years. I agree you need to increase it, but I was thinking if you would just shave 250 off each one of those increases to make it more of a smoother transition.
Right. I've asked around that.
That's a huge jump.
It's, we aren't charging the user fee in this program. So it's just $3 a round, but at 50 times, that puts you up to $600. And of course, it's still a leap, but we're comparing it to the rate increase on a dollars per round basis. So it's, if you play 90 rounds in a year, it's a $3 per round increase is what that comes to.
Right.
And yes, we're anticipating losing some of those players on that frequent of a basis. And it's probably going to be the ones, we figure anyone who played in that 45 to 50 round a year mark, if they can afford it, they're going to probably do the program. They're probably going to jump up a little bit. Anybody less than that, they may play on a per round basis. And it's kind of a win-win on our side, I think.
I mean, it's almost like just not even having it at all, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, with the non-residents, I would that may be debatable. I would agree. It's kind of a perk that I don't know is necessary for people who aren't in the city. I think it's, you know, city seniors make up, what is it, about 60-70% of these pass holders. Again, it's nothing more than a discount for people who frequent the golf course, who play a lot of golf.
And it's a choice. You're giving people a choice.
Right.
Yes.
They don't have to buy it. If they want to pay per round, they can do that. And they'll probably figure it out economically, what works out best for them.
Right. It's $17 a pop to play as a senior resident. So, and if they want to come in the afternoons 7 days a week, they can play for $15. So there's options out there for everybody. This is more or less, this is kind of your people that you want people at your course frequently, you know, eating and drinking, playing golf, hitting range balls, running cards, bringing their friends. And this is what that group is. So to some extent, we encourage it, but we certainly don't want too many of them.
I get you. I follow your logic on that. But one other final question. Are you planning any increase in your concessions?
You know, we're going to kind of follow a food cost basis there. So we have, I've spoken with some friends in the restaurant industry, which isn't like, more just kind of figuring out the ins and outs of how you come to certain pricing. It's all over the place, and we're not necessarily a business from that standpoint, but it's certainly an opportunity to show some, if nothing else, make sure we cover our expenses in there. Our food cost is somewhere between 45–50%. I think in the normal restaurant world, you want to be down in like 30% range. So, but you know, we're never going to be in danger of charging $14 for a cheeseburger, but we have to upsell what we have to make sure that we can get the bang for our buck from it. So that's all we're really doing there. That's all the way across the board. A lot of it's straightforward. We're just trying to make sure we keep track of the food costs. That's all we're doing with it.
All right. Well, thank you, Marshall, for that presentation. And Peter kind of covered my last question, was that you're not going to go up on those delicious cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburger, fries, and drink for under $10.
It's the best deal in town. You may just want to go out there for the cheeseburger.
Marshall, what's the projected opening at this point? What's your best guess?
Might be another discussion, but shooting for, I'd say 1st of November would be a goal, but we're going to have that conversation. We certainly don't want to trample the course too much for where it stands at that time, so we'll have to have that conversation over the next month or so here.
Gotcha. All right.
In the meantime, if any of you want to come take a tour around, shoot me an email. It's a good time to come check it out. It's pretty exciting.
Excellent. Thank you for all the work, Marshall. It's really looking great out there. All right. Next,
good job, Marshall. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Jolene going to take us
I'm
present?
going to do it. She's there for if she needs to be.
Okay.
Just to go back to golf course, so they'll take those to the golf course commission, and then all of that will come through the 2021 budget. So on to healthcare, which was reported out to HR committee a few weeks ago. We have a $1.5 million increase in healthcare costs from 2020. It's a 7.8% increase, mainly due to increase in claims. We'll have some very high dollar claims that will continue into 2021. So in order to absorb some of that cost, we did increase employee premiums, or we're proposing to increase the premiums. Last time we increased premiums was 2018. It also includes the cost of a COVID-19 vaccine, which will be $35 per shot. There's no plan design changes, so it stays exact. The plan itself stays the same, and the administrative fees did not increase at all. So this is the summary really of where the increases are. So you see medical went up significantly because of the claims. So whereas we were at 21.4 million last year, we're at 23 million this year in total costs. And then these are the premiums. This will show you the increases for the employees in that far right column, depending on what plan our employees enroll in. I just want to look at that real quick. Do you have any questions on that?
And when you say increase, Amy, that's per pay period?
So it is, but if you look at the far right, that's the annual increase.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Then that's vision and dental. Vision did not increase at all. Dental increased some. So total employee contributions for medical, dental, and vision is 3.5 million, which covers about 15% of our healthcare costs. So even though we're increasing it, they're not absorbing, you know, the city's absorbing the most cost for healthcare.
Amy,
Yes.
when employees turn 65, how does that help our overall health plan?
Well, we still,
In other words, they become Medicare eligible at 65.
they can still be on our plan, but they pay a higher premium for that as a retiree. And Jolene can answer that probably better than I can, but go ahead.
Yeah, if you're still an employee at age 65, the city's plan is still prime. If you elect the city's coverage, when you are a retiree and you hit your Medicare eligible age, then you roll off the city's plan. But if your spouse is younger than you, then your spouse will stay on the plan.
Okay, I'm exposing two people here. The mayor and I turned 65 this month. So I know in some private, well, Peter does too. So
y'all a bunch of kids, man.
Yeah.
Kids.
You know, out in the private sector, you know, that employee would probably get a supplement and get on
I got my Medicaid card.
That's right. And I'm just wondering that, if you go throughout the city's, I don't know, 1,800 or so employees, how many of them are 65 or older that the city's still supplementing a full, group benefit on? You don't have to give me that. You don't have to give me that answer now, but
right. I don't really know those stats, but I would say that there are probably not very many employees that are that at that age. Because I would say, there's probably not. I don't know for sure.
That's something you can find out. It'd be interesting to find out. I mean, even if we got 100 employees that's 65 or older, that's a lot of premium.
Yes.
We'll get that number for you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll find out.
And find out whether or not it just automatically becomes their plan B from Medicare.
No, the city stays prime.
Okay.
I'm 99% sure that if you have a plan, Medicare.
Well, B is still your prime. A kicks in after, A is more for hospitalization, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Hey, yes. And B is for outpatient.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Do you need any questions on healthcare? No. All right. So we'll go to 2021. We received all the department's budgets, but most of the requests were more than 2020, their 2020 requests. So we sent them back and asked them to further reduce their budgets, their requests, and asked them to strive for a 10% reduction over their 2020 budgets. So we've been getting those back and we're compiling those into a complete list, which we'll go over with you hopefully next week. I'm trying to schedule a meeting for next week. And then we'll schedule the department's head meetings over the next few weeks. So we plan to just meet with these departments, police, fire, TNT, IT, public service, and parks, because those are our biggest our biggest departments that have the biggest expenses. Everyone else really didn't ask for much more or reduce their budget. So usually those are the departments that we meet with. So if you're all okay with those departments, then we'll set those meetings up.
No problem. The meeting you referred to for next week, is that of the budget ad hoc committee or?
Yeah. It would be just to go over the complete list of all the departments. So you can have that and we can just go through it quickly, and then we'll schedule over the next couple of weeks the meetings with the actual department heads for each of those departments.
Okie dokie.
Okay. And then we're hoping for September 9th to go through that complete list. I haven't sent the meetings out yet because I just need to verify with the clerk's office that it won't interfere with any other committee meetings, which I don't think they will, but I just want to make sure. And those are the dates that we're looking for.
Okay, Amy, this is Dudley. Wednesday the 9th.
Yes.
I will probably be on the road that time, so I may not make that meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
I can send it to you so you can look through it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I can't be there either, Amy. I have a longstanding dentist appointment or something.
Okay. Well, we can look for another
Me,
time.
me as well. I've got
We'll
a
look for another date then.
lot of support.
Yeah, do it Thursday. Thursday.
I'll get another time that we might be able to change it to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thursday would work.
Thanks.
All
Thursday would work.
Yes,
Thursday's
that works for
better.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just get with Liz, Mayor, see what we can do.
All right.
And then we'll have more meetings in October just to try to pull this all together
Of course.
the best we can. We talked about local option sales tax in our last meeting. There were some questions on, our revenue fund and whether we give 100% of that back and what we want to do with that. So I just thought I'd talk about that and how the rollback fund and the refund fund work together. We had this presentation a few years ago, but I understand a lot of you are new. So the way that this is distributed per county is 71% of it is allocated to tax rollback. 67% of that 71% is distributed to the county, and 33% is to the municipalities. And that's based on the municipalities' population as a percentage of the total population of all the municipalities in the county. Clear? Clear as mud? And then the revenue fund is the rest of the 29% goes to the revenue fund. And that's based on 50% location of the sale and 50% based on population. And that's the fund that we were talking about that we do not have to give back, but we do. Rollback fund, you have to give back no matter what.
Say that again, Amy. I'm sorry.
So
The last thing.
the state statute requires 100% of the rollback fund. It has to be applied as a tax credit. And then our revenue fund is flexible, which is at 29% in this previous slide. Oops, let me go back. So you had 71% of it goes to the rollback fund, 29% goes to the revenue fund. Does that make sense? Yes.
Well, we've been choosing as a city to roll back, if you will, the 29% as well.
That's right.
Right.
It all goes as a credit back to our
That's right.
property owners.
So you have to use the rollback fund as a tax credit. The revenue fund is flexible unless 100% of it is pledged as a tax credit, which is what the city did in 1990. The original law was passed in 1990, and so we've always given 100% back. We did a resolution in 1990 to pledge 100% of the revenue fund as a tax credit. If we wanted to change this, it requires the same action as our original pledge, which was a resolution.
Amy,
Yes.
is there some then correlation to the mills? I thought when you explained this to me directly a couple of years ago that we've always given back 100% to the homeowner, as you said, but something about we can actually have a higher cap on the mills annually.
Well, we have the state, we have a millage bank for millage. When we set millage, if we want to increase property taxes by a millage increase, there's a bank that we can only raise it a certain amount. This is separate. You're on mute.
Sorry, there's no correlation between what we can do under the millage rate versus the way that we deliver back the rollback.
If we decided not to keep if we decided not to give back the revenue fund, it wouldn't count towards our millage bank, if that's what you're asking. It's different. But I have some slides that kind of show what the millage impact would be. If that might help later in a couple slides.
Okay, thanks.
And so, like I said, we originally approved 100% of revenue by resolution. So we would need another resolution to change it. We just would need to decide what percentage. So we want to change it from 100% to what? And I have some slides that show where we might want to be with that. And because we talked with legal about procedures, how this would work, because in effect it would be a millage increase, they think that we need a public hearing notice at least 15 days in advance. And we would also need an ordinance to amend the budget that would require 3 readings. So if we change our pledge that we're giving 100% back, right now we've not received any of our assessment numbers from Charleston County. We're expecting them, we're hoping that we're going to get them by tomorrow afternoon. If not, it'll be early in the week. And because this is a reassessment year, it'll take us some time to calculate the millage rate and the tax credit factor rate, because we need to calculate the rollback and everything else. So it'll take us a little bit of time. Usually when we get the assessments, we look at it and do a reasonable test with it, and we often send it back, and we go back and forth with the county a few times before we get a final number. So just to give you perspective that it will take us a little bit of time to do that calculation. Charleston County wants those values no later than September 25th. So we're kind of running out of time. And Berkeley County starts asking us in the middle of August for them, because they want them immediately. So I know we had discussed possibly doing this in 2020, but with the requirements of the public hearing and amending the budget and the 3 readings and just the time that it'll take us to calculate it, I don't know that we could do it that quick. So I'm just throwing that out there. So effect on the tax amount, this might help you, Councilmember Jackson. So right now, our tax credit factor is 0.00079. That's an equivalent millage reduction of 19.81 mils. We kept 25% and gave back 75% of that fund. The effect would be, the tax credit factor would be 0.00070. And it would be an equivalent millage increase of 2.31 mils. And that would be the tax increase to our citizens in Charleston County. If we kept 50% of it and still gave back 50%, then you see the effect. It would be an effective of a 4.62 millage increase and tax increase of $54 in Charleston County for our citizens. And then you see the same numbers below for Berkeley County.
Thank you very much. That is what I was trying to get at.
And so then here's a property tax. Yes, Councilmember Waring, I'm sorry.
Amy, a mill equates to about 1.1 million in revenue.
That's correct. We'll get that number again when we get the numbers from Charleston County, because it fluctuates a little bit. I think last year was 1.3. So we'll see what that rate is.
Okay.
Amy, just go back to that last slide one more second. I'm still trying to keep up with you.
Sorry, you know I go fast.
You do. That's all right.
Yes, you do.
So, Amy, what you're saying is on the very first column on the lost credit, is that you talking about lost credit or lost revenue to the city?
That's the revenue.
So the city loses, as it stands right now, about $18 million.
I'm sorry?
So the city loses about $18 million.
That's
in
total. That's
revenue.
the rollback fund and the revenue fund together.
And then if you roll back 75%, then we would collect an additional 16 million.
It would be 16. That's just the total revenue. And if you go across, I guess we could have added what it would be millage wise. So like, but if you take that 2.31 mils, we would get, 1.3 times 2.31. So.
I'd say that one more time.
Almost $3 million probably in revenue to the city, additional revenue to the city. Does that make sense?
Say that last part one more time.
So it's equivalent of a 2.31 millage increase. And if our millage, if 1 mil is $1.3 million, so it'd be almost close to $3 million that we would get in additional revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Amy,
Yes.
this is Kathy. If I could add something, if you just subtract the loss credit of 18,364,000, subtract the 16,223 from that, that's the additional revenue we retain.
Right, for lost. Good.
We think so.
Yes, thank
It's confusing for sure. So then we just did a property tax calculation just to show you if we gave back 75% or if we gave back 50%, what that would do to a property tax bill. So you see at 100% it's $718 on a $300,000 house. And giving back 75% would be $745, and only giving back 50% would be $772. Charleston County. And then this would be Berkeley County.
Can you send us these slides, Amy?
Yeah, I'll send the thing to you.
We might have to think on this a little bit.
Yeah. So lost tax credit, it's calculated as this, the total loss credited, which is that column, Councilmember Shea, that you asked me about, divided by the total appraised value. So growth in revenue is a potential increase in the tax credit factor, which means a lower net millage in the way that we've over since 1990. This year, it's really hard for us to estimate loss because of everything being so and right now, expensive revenue that we've collected before, and there's really not a clear trend in how this will work. So it's kind of a large variable for us as well, which is making us a little nervous in terms of if we were to try and do this for 2020. And it's just hard to estimate the growth in appraised value beyond 1 year. So growth in lost revenue over the years has always resulted in a higher tax credit factor and lower effective millage rate. So before COVID-19, growth in lost revenue is expected to continue. This over the years, we've done really well with this and have been able to provide that to our citizens. The Rollback Fund is the bigger fund, and obviously that doesn't affect us at all because we have to give that money back. The Revenue Fund is partially based on population of city compared to total county, and it increased in 2011 after the 2010 census results. So we have the 2020 census that we're supposed to get the results in March, but we've heard that it's delayed some, like everything else is delayed. So that's another little bit of an uncertainty for us. So we're gonna have to be super conservative with how we project this out, just so we don't end up giving back more than we should, or not enough, which would be worse actually. So with us only having 6 months of revenue to work with, and if they're trying to stick, like I said, it's kind of difficult for us to predict, but everything is difficult for us to predict this year, honestly. So I don't know, I'm just thinking for 2020, it would be really hard for us to kind of get this done in time. And it might be better for 2021, but I don't know how you all feel about that.
So Amy, when you're talking about 2021, then that would be the tax bills that people get in November of next year and pay in January of 2022.
That's right. So, and we would just do all of this through the budget process for 2021. So you'd have all the procedural, everything would flow exactly like it would with the budget. You'd have the three readings. We could do the resolution at some point before that, and then have the 3 readings in December like we always do. We wouldn't be on such a
income that we would get from keeping part of the revenue rollback, we wouldn't be able to spend that until the 2022 year, correct?
Well, it would be in our 2021 budget, though, the revenue would. Because we'll get the majority of that in usually in December, we get a good portion of that. So it would be in our, that's how we would project the 2021 property tax revenue, would be taking this into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
The reason it came up, you know, at this 11th hour was that with our revenue shortfall, that if you garnered some of the local option revenue side that we're allowed to, it would offset some of our revenue shortfall for this year. But Amy makes a good point. We'd have to, if we have to have a public hearing and 3 readings, we'd basically have to get it done in September before this year's tax bill goes out.
That's right. And so we don't even have the assessment numbers yet. That's what makes me nervous about it, because we would actually have to get it on this next, we'd have to do something this next meeting, September 8th meeting, and I don't have the assessment numbers to even calculate it. So there's no way we could get it on the September 8th meeting, because I don't even have the numbers to be able to do it.
But I mean, you do know that if you just pick that 50% marker you had or example and kept half of the 29%, that it would equate to approximately something like $5 or $6 million, right?
Yes, but we have to do the rollback calculation. We have to have the assessment numbers to even set the tax credit factor. I can't set the tax credit factor without knowing those numbers. So that's why we would need, that's what the issue is.
And that's part of the state law, requires us to have the tax credit factor determined by them?
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a suggestion. I think we should make a big deal out of retaining the way that we've calculated the loss since 1990 in honor of the 350th anniversary of the city. Just citizens, I mean, honestly, citizens are not aware of what we do compared to some of the other municipalities in our region. So I do think it's something for us to be proud of, especially as we all know what a shortfall everyone's dealing with. So
Yeah,
fireworks or something.
That was the concern I had. And it does make us unique, and I don't know that it's appreciated by our citizens that I think we're about the only municipality around that gives the full 100% tax relief back to our citizens. And it just comes as a little credit on your tax bill, and nobody knows really how it's calculated. So it just feels like a little blessing, a little gift there whenever you see it on your tax bill, but it's kind of mysterious, you know, where it comes from.
I will tell you, Mr. Mayor, that I pay very close attention to that because it makes a huge difference on your tax bill. Yeah. But anyhow, I think we just need to continue. It doesn't look like it's going to be feasible at all to have this discussion for the 2020 tax budget. So leave it alone.
Councilmember Waring.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Number one, I want to thank Amy for putting these slides together. But if we would, I'm sure she's going to forward them to us, kind of look at this, do some homework, and circle back real quick. I think that would be in keeping. I don't think we have to make all this sausage today.
That's right. Absolutely.
No, if we want to consider this for 2021, I mean, we'll have to make some big decisions on how much we want to give back and how much we want to keep and things like that. So but I just wanted to point all that out for 2020. I don't know that we can make it work. But we can definitely look at it for 2021, and we have a lot more discussion about it and numbers, especially once we get the assessment from the county. If you want us to do that.
Okay, good. We'll talk.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay. So other business, the tax anticipation note and the stormwater bond refunding. We put the RFP out and got them back, and we have an interest rate of 0.44% for the tax anticipation note. Yeah, it's pretty good. We're borrowing $20 million to get us through the end of the year. The closing will be on September 22nd. It matures on April 15th, and it's callable at par on or after March 1st. So we could pay it as early as March 1st, pay it back. Any questions on that?
Can I get refinanced my home at that rate at 0.44%?
I'm sorry?
Nothing, never mind.
That's an incredible rate, isn't it, Keith?
It is. It is. That's great. I mean, that's awesome, man. That's just great. Thank you for the hard work, Amy, and your team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you. And then we had an opportunity, the market, we had talked about, the possibly refunding our stormwater bond, but at the time it was almost better for us to wait a year to do it, but market's just favorable right now for us to go ahead and refund that. You will see it on the September 8th council meeting. And it's right now it's for amount not exceeding 34 million for that bond. If it's approved by council on Tuesday, we'll send an RFP out to the banks. And right now the analysis shows a savings of at least $4.6 million, or which equates to about $380,000 a year. And so this is an analysis that we had received from our financial advisor, which kind of shows just a regular bank placed refunding, what that would do for us. And that's the $4.6 million that you see at the bottom. And then we have, after 1 year, if tax law allows, we could convert the tax, because it'll be a taxable bond. I should have said that in the prior slide. We can convert it to a non-taxable bond, which would provide additional savings. The conversion would be at approximately 80% of the interest rate. So that's where the additional savings comes from. And in the ordinance that you'll see on Tuesday, it authorizes us to go ahead and convert that without it coming back to council. So I just wanted to point that out. And that would be a $400,000 savings a year, or $5.1 million.
Councilmember
That's a Cinderella bond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Amy, for this excellent work on looking at this 2012 stormwater revenue bond. Does this $400,000 in annual savings go into, stay in the stormwater fund? I mean, is that like $400,000 we have now additionally per year
The drainage
for
fund.
stormwater?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
We can get some more drainage projects done.
Well, I think there's maybe one or two around here. I feel bad for Matt. His list is going to have to get a little longer during these reports, but that's good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Councilmember Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think, early in the year, tail end last year, I think earlier this year, I think we spent something like $60,000 up there. We kind of hired our financial advisor, and it's certainly being more cost effective doing this. I mean, $400,000 a year savings. I mean, that's just great. I just can't wait until the rest of our bonds come up and become callable. I do believe interest rates are going to be low for the next 2, maybe 3 years.
They are definitely watching it for us.
Yeah.
So.
But thank you. All of them. Great work. Thank you.
So hopefully that'll get approved on Tuesday night, and we can move forward with that, and that will help with our projects. And that's really all I had. We did get an answer on the number of employees, that's 65 or older, and it's 90. That's about 5% of our total employees. Councilmember Gregory, I don't know if you heard that.
I think I asked a question.
Oh yeah.
I did.
You did?
No, I didn't. I heard that, yes.
So that's really all I have for now. If you have any more questions.
I do have a question, Mr. Mayor. I know we're going back to our department heads and asking about, for them to, any cuts. And I know they're going to be busy about doing that. I did not ask the question, do we have any consulting contracts out there that can be pushed off a year or whatnot? You don't have to give me the answer today, but I mean, can we look into that and maybe get a response sometimes
Sure.
next week?
Sure, we can do that.
I don't know if the police department or some other departments right now, because frankly, whatever they consult on, we don't really have the money to implement right now. So we look under every rock. That's all I'm saying.
We can pull a list together and let you know how far into that contract they are.
So I do want to just accentuate that 10% request to the departments was for operating expenses and not to cut employee salaries or employee benefits or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, it was operating in capital.
Right.
Okay, guys.
Any
Have a
other?
good holiday weekend.
Will do. Thank you, Councilmember Gregory. Drive
Thank you.
careful.
Okay,
Right.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Amy. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
team.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
All right, y'all
Kathy.
take care, everybody.
Yeah, be safe.
Be safe.